The universe of Peppa Pig is much bigger than it seems, because there's another show that takes place in the Little Pig's world, Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom. Have you noticed all the times these two series have crossed over? There are several times when we can spot Ben and Holly characters hidden in episodes of Peppa Pig, like when Peppa's family travels to the United States in the episode America. One of the places they pass through is Times Square in New York City, where the buildings have giant billboards, and on one of those billboards we can see Ben and Holly, as if they were major celebrities. But the truth is that Ben and Holly very likely are major celebrities, which becomes clearer in the episode Bedtime Story. In it, Daddy Pig reads a children's book to Peppa and George to help them fall asleep, but the story he's reading isn't just any story. After all, a picture of Holly appears inside the book. This kind of Easter egg makes many people believe that Ben and Holly is a fictional story within Peppa's universe. But we go further. We believe they actually exist in this world, but their series takes place before the events of Peppa Pig, when they became legends and eventually turned into characters in books, cartoons, and maybe even movies. This is just the beginning, because we're going to talk about the 16 amazing crossovers you missed between Peppa Pig and Ben and Holly. Get comfy and come with us, because another Cinewave is about to start. Okay, so far we've only seen references, but what if we told you there are characters who actually appear in both series? That's exactly the case with Redbeard the Pirate, a character from Ben and Holly who later also appeared in Peppa Pig. His first appearance in Peppa's show was in the episode Police Station, when a man dressed as a pirate with a big red beard walks past the police station. Even though it's not officially confirmed that they're the same character, they are so similar that it can't be a coincidence. The same clothes and the same red beard. The difference is that in Peppa Pig he is simply called Pirate and is a human instead of an elf, and he also has a hook in place of one of his hands. But these differences can easily be explained if Redbeard is using magic to disguise himself as a human. As for the hook, well, we mentioned that Peppa Pig most likely takes place after Ben and Holly, so he may have lost his hand during one of his pirate adventures before meeting the little pig. Another example of a character who appears in both shows is none other than Santa Claus. Sure, he's a real-world legend and appears in many cartoons. However, the Santa Claus who shows up in Peppa Pig and Ben and Holly isn't two different versions of the legend, but the exact same one. This is easy to notice since he looks practically identical in both shows. It's impossible to ignore. The biggest difference is that he looks a bit slimmer in Ben and Holly, but that can be explained by our theory that this show takes place before Peppa Pig. In other words, he simply had time to gain a little more weight before meeting the little pig. Episodes of Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom also make several references to Peppa Pig. In the episode Tooth Fairy, Holly and Ben go to work as tooth fairies, so they enter a child's bedroom while she is sleeping, and that's where the Easter egg comes in, because a Peppa plush toy can be found in the room, indicating that this child is a big fan of the little pig. This reinforces the theory that the pig family are celebrities even within Peppa's universe, and that their daily lives are broadcast on television. It's funny to think that maybe both Peppa and Ben and Holly are famous within their own universe. After all, we've already mentioned that characters from the other series also appear in Peppa Pig. In fact, another time this happens is in the episode Once Upon a Time, when Peppa and George are reading a fairy tale book together, and the one who appears in the book is Holly, once again showing that she and other characters from her series have become an important part of this world's folklore. Would you also think it's amazing if the real versions of Ben and Holly appeared in a Peppa Pig crossover episode? If so, comment down below, #crossover. Still talking about celebrities, there's a famous Peppa Pig star who also shows up in Ben and Holly. We're talking about our beloved Mr. Potato. This happens in the episode Miss Cookie's Nature Trail, in which some human children appear. The reference is on one of their backpacks, which is covered in images of Mr. Potato, one of the biggest celebrities in Peppa Pig. With both shows taking place in the same universe, it makes perfect sense that fans of Mr. Potato would appear in both productions. This is a great way to remind the most attentive fans of both series that Peppa lives in the same world as Holly and Ben. In hospital, Pedro Pony had to stay in the hospital, but Peppa and her school friends went to visit him. What no one imagined while watching this episode is that on the walls of the children's ward, there would be drawings of Ben and Holly. It's the kind of detail you only notice while watching the episode, but it confirms one thing: these two really can be anywhere, and there's no denying how amazing that is. Where else will we find this duo as we keep watching future episodes of Peppa Pig? Believe it or not, there have been references to the Little Pig show in Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom since the very first episode, and that just shows it was always the intention to connect the two series in some way, even if most fans didn't notice it at first. This Easter egg appears in a painting inside the royal castle. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that the image in the painting is a picture of the pig family's house. Now the question is, why is a photo of Peppa's home inside that castle? Could it be that the pig family has been watched by fairies all this time? In the Peppa Pig episode, The Children's Fate, Madame Gazelle's students organize an event to raise money. Each child has a booth, and in Susie Sheep's case, her booth is for face painting. During it, Miss Rabbit has her face painted purple by Susie Sheep, who wanted to make her look like a plum. And yes, this somehow connects to Ben and Holly because it references Nanny Plum, a character from Ben and Holly who wears a purple dress. The reason for this Easter egg is that both she and Miss Rabbit are voiced by the same woman in the original language, Sarah Ann Kennedy. Can you believe there's another character who appears in both Peppa Pig and Ben and Holly? And this one is harder to predict because we're talking about Polly, Grandpa Pig's parrot. Believe it or not, a green parrot also named Polly shows up in Ben and Holly. In that show, he is even portrayed as being bigger than everyone else, since Ben, Holly, and the other characters are the size of insects. The series isn't even trying to hide that this is the same character from the Little Pig show. It's wild to think that Grandpa Pig's parrot has gotten involved in adventures with fairies and elves. It's clear that Peppa likes Ben and Holly, since she has already been seen reading their book. And this becomes even easier to notice in the episode Fancy Dress Party, which is exactly what the title suggests, a costume party. And guess what Peppa's costume is? It's a fairy outfit with a pink dress, a crown, and a wand. In other words, it's a Holly costume. So we can confirm that the little pig really likes this fairy, and she is probably her favorite character from Ben and Holly. Does Holly like Peppa just as much? It would be amazing to see them meet. Don't forget, subscribing is the easiest way to make sure you never miss any of our videos. We don't know if they like Peppa, but they probably at least like Madame Gazelle. This might sound pretty random, but in case you didn't know, Peppa's teacher used to be a rock star. Alongside her sisters, she was part of a band called the Rocking Gazelles. The sisters even reunite to perform one of their classic songs in a certain Peppa Pig episode. And here's where it gets interesting. Ben and Holly has an episode called Gaston's Birthday, where a ladybug named Gaston is celebrating his birthday. During the party, we can hear a song that is actually the same one played by the Rocking Gazelles. This is, once again, a moment where both series remind us that they coexist in the same universe in a completely natural way, without forcing connections. Going back to Peppa Pig, we have to talk about the episode The Library, where Peppa and her friends visit a library. Okay, by now it's clear that episode titles in these shows are very literal, but the important part is that, once again, a drawing of Holly appears in a book that Peppa is about to read. Not only that, but the fairy and Ben can also be seen on posters on the library walls. There's no doubt that the kids of Peppa Town truly love this duo. In Peppa's Christmas, the reference is much more unexpected and harder to notice, unless you're someone really attentive. Since it's Christmas, Peppa's house is full of holiday decorations, and among those decorations we can spot an image of Ben. This makes perfect sense since he is an elf, and we all know that Santa Claus has many magical helpers responsible for building the presents that are delivered to children all around the world. Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom has been referenced many times through books that appear in Peppa Pig, so it's expected that the episode World Book Day would include yet another Easter egg like this, and anyone who thought that is absolutely right. But this time, another character appears besides Holly or Ben. We're talking about Nanny Plum, who is seen on the cover of a book being held by Mummy Pig, and since the book is purple, we can assume that this fairy is the main character of it. Could it be that each character from Ben and Holly has their own books? Enjoying it? Then click one of the two videos we left on the screen and keep going with us. See you next time!